Hey everyone, and welcome back to Time Tickers, where we, of course, break down the latest earnings calls.
That's right.
And today, we are taking a deep dive into Kraft Heinz's Q3 2024 report.
Yeah.
Which we just got this morning.
Fresh off the press.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, it wasn't exactly a celebratory call.
No, not the kind of results that make you want to pop the champagne.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the big headline here is that Kraft Heinz is kind of pushing back their timeline for hitting their long-term growth algorithm.
Right.
Basically, they're saying don't expect them to reach their growth targets at any point in 2025.
Yeah, that's a pretty significant shift because I think a lot of us were expecting them to get back on track, late 2024, maybe early 2025. But this makes it clear that it's going to be a longer road and a bumpier one than they initially anticipated.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit.
Okay.
What are some of the reasons behind this change? What's making things so challenging for them right now?
Well, one of the things they cited was just a general kind of slowdown in the food industry, which is not what people were predicting at the beginning of the year. Yeah. And then you combine that with this trend of consumers trading down, opting for cheaper brands over premium ones. Yeah. And you've got this really kind of tough environment for a company like Kraft Heinz.
Okay. So given that backdrop, how are their different business segments performing?
It's actually a pretty mixed bag. Okay. So their global away-from-home business, which is focused on restaurants and food services, that's actually doing pretty well, showing solid growth. And then their emerging markets are actually on fire, exceeding expectations, seeing really strong volume growth.
Some bright spots, for sure.
Yeah.
But what about U.S. retail? I mean, that's where they seem to be facing...
Yeah, that's where the pressure is.
Most challenges, right?
Yeah, that's right. The U.S. retail segment is really feeling the weight of these industry headwinds. And they specifically called out 4 brands that are facing some serious obstacles. Lunchables, Capri Sun, Kraft Mac and Cheese, and Spoonables.
Okay, so let's break these down one by one, starting with Lunchables.
Okay.
Remember, they were hit with some bad press earlier this year from that misleading interest group.
Yeah.
Is that still impacting them?
Yeah, it definitely seems like it's lingered longer than they expected.
Really?
Remember, Lunchables is heavily marketed to kids and families. And so rebuilding trust takes time. Yeah. Plus, they're facing tougher competition in that category now than they were. Okay. And then to make matters worse, they have a supplier issue with a key ingredient.
Oh, no.
That's causing further disruptions.
So a triple whammy for Lunchables.
Basically, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to Capri Sun then.
Okay.
What's the story there?
So they actually did like a major product overhaul, which, sounds good in theory. Right. But it takes time for customers to adjust to a new product.
Sure, even if it's for the better, right?
Exactly. Even if it's ultimately an improvement, it just takes time. But they are seeing some positive signs. And they're also looking to expand into new markets, like offering multi-serve options for wholesale stores and single bottles for convenience stores.
So diversifying their reach.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Now, Kraft Mac and Cheese.
Oh, yeah.
A classic American brand.
The classic.
What are they up against?
Well, they're facing a lot of competition, particularly in that premium mac and cheese market. Yep. And, Kraft is known for affordability and being widely available, but maybe they're struggling to keep up with some of these newer, more specialized brands that are targeting a specific niche.
It makes you wonder if they should try and tap into that premium market a little bit more.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Right.
It's a key strategic question for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then finally, Spoonables.
Yeah, Spoonables.
What's the scoop there?
Well, it seems like Spoonables is a relatively new addition to their list of kind of problem children.
Interesting.
And initially, they were saying that it was underperforming because of price gaps and some execution issues. Okay. And it seems like those problems are still persisting. Right. So they've got some work to do on their pricing strategy and making sure that they're reaching their target customers.
Now, it's important to remember that Kraft Heinz has actually had success with some of their turnaround efforts with other brands, right?
Right.
Like Philadelphia cream cheese or Ida potatoes and even Taco Bell products.
Yeah.
So do you think they can replicate that success with these struggling brands?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they're holding on to their long-term strategy, which is this emphasis on growing base sales volume in a healthy way.
All right, so let's dig into that strategy a bit.
Okay.
What are the key elements of their approach?
So they're really focused on innovation and renovation across their entire portfolio.
Okay.
They're also increasing their marketing investments, but they're doing it in a way that they say is going to be more effective and culturally relevant.
Okay.
And then they're also being very strategic about promotions.
Okay, so this promotional strategy shift sounds really interesting. What are they doing differently this time around?
So they're moving away from this kind of discount at all costs mentality.
Okay.
And they're trying to be more selective about when and where they offer discounts.
Okay.
The idea is to drive base growth in specific locations and avoid things like barking and hunting behavior.
Okay, now I got to ask.
Yeah.
For those of our listeners who maybe aren't as familiar with retail lingo, what exactly does barking and hunting behavior mean?
Yeah, good point. So barking is basically when you slash prices so much that your profit margins just disappear.
Right.
It's this race to the bottom that no one really wins.
Got it. Okay.
And then hunting is when you have customers who only buy a product when it's on sale.
Right.
They're basically addicted to the discount.
Yeah, okay. So it sounds like Kraft Heinz is trying to break free from this cycle of constantly having to offer discounts
exactly
to drive sales.
They want to build a customer base that values their products for their quality and innovation, not just for a bargain.
But, I mean, that's a tough thing to do.
Yeah,
right?
It is.
Especially when you've got consumers out there who are really looking for those cheaper alternatives.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. It's a delicate balancing act, but there are signs that this approach could work.
Okay.
If you look at the Heinz brand globally, it actually grew by 4% in Q3.
Wow.
Which kind of shows that this focus on innovation and marketing can pay off.
That is encouraging.
Yeah.
And they are taking steps to innovate even within those challenged categories.
Right. Yeah.
Like they've introduced some new Lunchables flavors and formats, extended Capri Sun into new channels. So, you know, they're making moves.
They are, but only time will tell if it's enough to overcome these headwinds.
Right. It's a complex situation for sure.
Yeah, it is.
And we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
Kraft Heinz's lowered expectations, the contrasting performance of those different segments.
Yeah.
You know, specific issues plaguing U.S. retail, and then, of course, the company's strategic response to all of that.
Right. There's a lot to digest here, and it raises a lot of questions about, you know, whether they can actually adapt and thrive in this current climate.
Yeah, and we'll get into all that.
Absolutely.
As we continue our deep dive.
Can't wait.
So stay tuned.
Buckle up.
So we've gotten a pretty good overview of where Kraft Heinz stands. But I want to go back to those winning segments for a second.
Okay.
You mentioned that global, away from home, and emerging markets are both performing well. Can you give us a little bit more detail on what's driving those successes?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with global away from home, which saw a 10% jump in net sales.
Wow.
This quarter. And one thing that's interesting is that they've been focusing on strategic partnerships with restaurants and food service businesses to provide them with customized solutions.
So it's not just about selling them bulk ketchup anymore.
Right. It's not just about, you know, giving them the standard products.
Right.
It's really about understanding their specific needs and offering them solutions.
Interesting. Okay.
So that could be anything from creating, you know, special sauce formulations for a particular restaurant chain.
Oh, wow.
To, you know, providing them with packaging solutions that can help streamline their kitchen operations.
So much more tailored approach.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, now what about emerging markets? What's fueling their growth there?
So they've been really good at adapting their products to local tastes and preferences. So, for example, in Southeast Asia, they launched this line of chili sauces that were specifically designed to appeal to local palates.
Interesting.
And they've also been very strategic about their pricing to make sure their products are accessible to a wider range of consumers.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Right. It's not about just taking what works in the U.S. and trying to force into these other markets.
Exactly.
They're really doing their research and understanding the nuances of these different regions.
Really impressive.
Yeah, it's a smart approach for sure.
So the question is, can they bring this kind of thinking to the U.S. retail market?
Exactly. Can they replicate some of these successes?
Right, because their focus on base volume growth over aggressive promotions is definitely a big shift.
It is a big shift.
What are your thoughts on that strategy?
I mean, it's a bold move,
Yeah.
especially in a market where, consumers are more price sensitive than ever.
Right.
But I actually think it's a necessary step.
Okay.
If you're always discounting your products, it can actually hurt your brand in the long run.
Right. Because then people don't see the value.
Exactly. It kind of creates this expectation that you're always going to be on sale.
Yeah. Okay.
So they're trying to break out of that cycle and convince people to pay full price.
So it's almost like they're trying to retrain their customers.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to put it.
Right.
Yeah. They want people to appreciate the product itself.
Yeah.
Not just the deal.
But do they have a portfolio that's strong enough to do that?
Right.
I mean, I know they have some iconic brands.
Yeah.
But some of them do feel a little bit dated.
Yeah. That's the challenge, right? They have this legacy of well-known brands, a lot of nostalgia, brand equity built up over, decades. But they can't just coast on that.
Right. They need to show why those brands are still relevant today.
Exactly.
So innovation is key.
Yeah.
What are some specific ways that they're trying to breathe new life into these products?
Well, they talked about revamping their entire Lunchables line in the first half of next year.
Oh, wow.
New flavors, new formats,
Okay.
maybe even healthier options
Interesting.
to appeal to health-conscious parents.
So it sounds like they're really serious
They are.
about turning things around for Lunchables.
Yeah, they are putting a lot of energy into that.
Now, they also pointed to some of their past successes as proof that they can do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Philadelphia cream cheese or Ida potatoes,
Mm-hmm.
Taco Bell products.
Right.
So what were the keys to their success with those brands?
So with Philadelphia, they really focused on innovation,
Okay.
new flavors, new formats like whipped cream cheese.
Okay.
They also had some smart marketing campaigns that really reinforced the brand's premium positioning.
So a combination of product development and marketing.
Exactly.
Okay. What about Ida?
With Ida, they really zeroed in on convenience
Okay.
and health.
Mm-hmm.
So they introduced pre-cut seasoned potatoes,
Okay.
which is perfect for busy consumers
Yeah.
who want easy meal solutions.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And then Taco Bell.
Yeah, Taco Bell's a little different.
Right, because it's a licensed brand.
Exactly. They don't actually own the brand, but they license it.
Okay.
And they've really tapped into that huge Taco Bell fan base and brought those flavors to the frozen food aisle.
So they've proven
Yeah.
that they can adapt, that they can innovate, but can they do it consistently across this massive portfolio?
Yeah, that's the real question, right?
Yeah.
It's one thing to have a few success stories.
Right.
But can they replicate that across the board?
Exactly. And can they do it in this climate with all the challenges that we talked about earlier? Right? With inflation, with consumers trading down.
This is where their strategic use of promotion comes in.
Exactly. They have to find a way to offer value without sacrificing their margins.
And then they also talked about increasing their marketing investments.
Right.
What do you think about that?
I mean, it's definitely important for them to make sure their marketing is effective and that it's resonating with their target audience.
Especially in today's media landscape.
Oh, yeah. It's so cluttered, so noisy.
They've got to break through somehow.
They do. They have to be creative and innovative.
So a lot of riding on their ability to execute these strategies.
Absolutely.
So I want to turn it over to our listeners for a minute.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think Kraft Heinz can pull this off?
What opportunities do you see for them to regain momentum in the U.S. retail market?
Let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, hit us up on social media.
Yeah, on social media using #TalkTickers. Okay, so we've really been digging into Kraft Heinz's latest earnings call.
Yeah, we've been in the weeds.
And there's no question they're facing some serious challenges, especially here in the U.S.
Yeah, they've got their work cut out for them.
But they've also got this track record of innovation. And this new focus on base volume growth could be a real game changer.
Right. It all comes down to execution.
Exactly, if they can pull it off.
Yeah.
It's not about just slashing prices or relying on those short-term promotions anymore.
It's about building something sustainable.
Yeah, it's about reminding people why they love these brands.
Right. Bring back that nostalgia.
In the first place, and showing them.
But with a modern twist.
That they're still relevant today.
Exactly.
And we want to know what you think about this approach.
Yeah. What do you think, listener?
Do you buy into this idea of prioritizing base volume growth over those constant discounts?
Hit us up on social media.
Let us know your thoughts.
#TalkTickers.
Okay, so let's zoom out a bit now and look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
What are some of the trends that we're seeing across the entire food and beverage industry?
Right, because it's not just about Kraft Heinz
Right.
in isolation.
Exactly. What's happening in the wider market?
Exactly. What are some of those broader forces at play?
And how are those things maybe influencing Kraft Heinz's performance?
Well, I mean, we already talked about inflation and consumers trading down to cheaper options.
Those are huge factors.
Yeah, those are industry-wide challenges.
I mean, everyone is feeling that pressure.
Every food company is dealing with that.
Exactly.
Consumers are being more careful about their spending.
Right. Wallets are tighter.
Yeah, they're really looking for value. And then on top of that, you have this growing demand for healthier and more sustainable options.
Yeah. That's right. People are paying more attention to ingredients and the environmental impact.
Yeah, they want to know what's in their food.
Of their food choices.
And where it came from.
So how is Kraft Heinz responding to these broader trends?
Well, they're making some moves in a few key areas.
Okay.
They're working on improving the nutritional profile of their products.
Okay.
Trying to make things a little bit healthier.
Yeah.
And they're also trying to reduce their environmental footprint.
Makes sense.
And they're investing in plant-based alternatives.
Oh, interesting.
You know, that's a category that's just exploding in popularity.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to see how these bigger trends are shaping what these companies are doing.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that even these huge established brands, they can't just sit still.
Right. They got to adapt.
They have to evolve.
To stay competitive.
Yeah, to stay relevant.
So where does all this leave Kraft Heinz?
That's the million-dollar question.
What's their outlook for the future?
I mean, it's tough to say for sure.
Yeah.
They definitely have some obstacles to overcome. But they also have this incredible portfolio of brands and a history of innovation. So their success really depends on their ability to execute these new strategies and adapt to these changing consumer preferences.
Yeah.
And of course, they have to navigate this tricky economic environment.
Yeah, no easy feat.
No, it's not.
We'll be watching closely.
Absolutely. This is going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Okay. So we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From the specifics of the earnings call.
Yeah, all those details.
On those broader industry trends.
And everything in between.
Exactly. And as always, we want to leave you with something to think about.
A little food for thought.
Given all of these challenges that we've talked about, can Kraft Heinz really make this comeback?
Can they navigate this changing landscape?
Can they return to sustainable growth?
Yeah. It's a question that's going to define the future
of this company.
Yeah, for sure.
So let us know what you think.
Yeah, join the conversation.
Share your insights.
Head over to social media.
Predictions.
#TalkTickers.
Using #TalkTickers.
And of course.
And thanks for joining us.
Thanks for listening.
On this deep dive into Kraft Heinz's Q3 2024 earnings call.
Always a pleasure.
And be sure to subscribe.
Yeah, don't forget to subscribe.
To Talk Tickers for more in-depth analysis.
We'll break it all down for you.
Of the earnings calls that matter most.
Until next time.
Until next time.